SlideQT Productions.
What is up? Need for Speed Racers. It is I, your wheelman, Alex Cornnut. $1 Billion Builds, episode 16, where I gave myself $1 billion. I built every car in the game, in every class that it fits in, so no matter what your poison, I've got you taken care of. Today, we're driving the 1965 Mustang, and I have been working with SlideQT on both grip and drift builds for this through all of the classes that we can, so that way I've really got everybody compiled in this, so if you're a gripper or a drifter, you're all set. Let's dig into it. We are starting in B class. Stay with me. We're going to bounce around between the two styles. Sometimes the parts change, sometimes it's very subtle. So in this case for B class, they're really similar. So let me show you what we got. Real easy stuff. Now, it's not a cheese build. So if you're going up against cars that have hundreds of horsepower, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 100 horsepower in B class, you're not going to win unless you've got a really good driver mod and who you're facing is just terrible. But that being said, that's what you're up against. So it's a legit B car, and it suffers for that reason because it actually goes 136 instead of that hard cap of 130. That being the case, let's get into it. The engine that we use for a lot of the builds is the stock engine, or the first engine over. It is the 4.7 liter V8, 200 brake horsepower when we start. That's the iron basic option. It's really decent. It's got a lot of potential, and we do a lot with it, so let's get into it. It is Super Gold induction, iron basic ECU, sport bronze fuel system, and iron basic exhaust. Grippers, you're going to be using the Super Gold Roots supercharger. The Super Gold build that we did on this one was able to get just a little bit more horsepower than if I went with Elite Platinum, than a different configuration. The Elite Platinum, I got 365. Running the Roots, I can change the parts around and we get 367. You want every pony we can pack into this because it's hard to compete, so that's why I went this route. So, Super Gold Roots. Sport Bronze Nitrous like we do. Elite Platinum Road suspension, iron basic brakes, Elite Platinum grip tires, iron basic clutch, and then you were going to put on the 4-speed Sport Bronze transmission. Everybody always misses that somehow. If you guys have got brakes or clutch on here, it won't fit. So I get lots of comments. Try not to get freaked out today, but yeah, that's the deal. So just make sure you follow closely, everyone. You can do it. Elite Platinum differential, you need that so you can get the most out of your handling slider, and then your auxiliaries are whatever you want. I use grip and drift so I can get those micro drifts. 60% grip, slide the slider all the way to the left, full Beyonce. Steering sensitivity, whatever you do. Downforce, last 2 clicks is going to be 158, 159. Anything lower than that is a 160 or above. So make sure you put that downforce all the way to the right. Now, if you are a drifter, you keep basically the same configuration, go over, and you have the option to now put in the screw supercharger, get a little more bang for our buck, a little better purchase. And then you're going to put on the Elite Platinum drift tires. Once you've equipped those drift tires, you're already B159, but your handling slider isn't as far over as you probably want it. So make sure you run that out to wherever you're comfortable, and that's going to be B159, anywhere in that area right there, as you can see on screen. So pretty much like 5% and neutral drift, that, like, those little spots right there are not 159, but everywhere else, do whatever you want. So it sets the car up. It's not too bad. Downforce all the way high. Steering sensitivity, the rest of that crap, do you. That's both the grip and the drift setups. Like I say, you're going to get walked by a lot of cars in B class because this just doesn't carry the same power to weight as the other cars do. It is identical configuration to the Roots as far as the power and the torque figures. 367 on the horsepower, 463 on the foot-pounds of torque. If you are in Newton meters, you have a different number that is higher. Just saying. Oppression units, they'll get you. Okay, let me show you what we got for A class. A class, this car starts to get a little competitive. Nothing crazy, but we're out here. Let me show you what we've got. The engine is the same 4.7 liter V8, 200 brake horsepower. That is the iron basic first engine over. For the parts, for grip, it is Silver Pro induction, Sport Bronze ECU, Iron Basic fuel system, and Silver Pro exhaust. We pair that up with the Elite Platinum screw supercharger. we're running just the stock super bronze, sport bronze, bronzy bronze, nitrous, elite platinum road suspension, iron basic brakes, and then elite platinum grip tires. Iron basic clutch, and we're continuing to use the sport bronze 4-speed transmission. As soon as you take it up, it takes it out of the class, so make sure you've got the 4-speed. And then, as always, elite platinum diff to get the most out of that handling slider. Handling all the way, 60% grip, full Beyonce, to the left, steering sensitivity 2 clicks high, downforce all the way high. That's the only place you will get it to fit at 209, so make sure you slide it all the way to the right. Traction control off, drift entry, brake tap. That is the grip version of the A-Class Ford Mustang. 150 is the top speed. It does about 154 with redline tech, 476 on the horsepower, and 565 on the torque. This is about the last spot that a grip version of this car makes sense because it's pretty rowdy, and as we start to tear up, it just gets worse. So let me show you what we've got for drift. It's a little more punchy. Let me show you. Like I said, it's a little more punchy. And what I mean by that is it's got just a skosh more power than the grip version, because as you slide the slider to the right, you have more points to play with, so you can pack a little more into it. SlideQT tuned this one up himself, and so this is what he would use for A-Class. It's decent for sure if you're a drifter. I suck, so it's not me. 4.7 V8, 200 brake horsepower, iron basic engine. Parts is silver pro, sport bronze, iron basic, super gold exhaust, and super gold screw supercharger. By moving those parts around just a little bit, we were able to get just a couple more horsepower by going to the gold screw, and there's no discernible difference between the elite screw when we were doing the testing, and so that few horsepower is helpful. It actually helps the car go a little bit more at the top end. Sport bronze nitrous, elite platinum road suspension, iron basic brakes, elite platinum drift tires for you sliders out there. Iron basic clutch, and then once again 4-speed sport bronze transmission, and then differential. It's up to you where you want to put it. I would say you need to go minimum of sport bronze, but you can get away with that elite platinum if you want the whole slider to play with. Auxiliaries, as always, make sure you've got them on there. Handling, now here's the deal. 60% drift is how SlideQT had this set up for himself, but if you want to, you can go 45% drift. So you have 45, that's the lowest. 60 is where it starts, and then you can run the slider all the way to 100. So if you want more drift, go for it. But 45 is the lowest, and then it's got a bit of a gap there. Then 60% is where it starts. Steering sensitivity, you do you, Pikachu. Downforce all the way high. Traction control off. Drift entry is brake tap. That's going to give you the Driftium A-Class 65 Mustang. 484 on the horsepower and 563 on the torque. So we do get a couple more ponies in there, and that contributes to the 151 mile an hour top speed. With redline tech, it's like 155. So it's just a little bit faster, but hey, every mile an hour counts, especially when you're chasing lap times. This is decent in A-Class. It's pretty fast, you guys. I think that if you are a drifter, you'll really like it. If you're a gripper, you'll fight it. And the fight continues as we get into A+, in an attempt to keep it as competitive with the drift version as possible. We are sacrificing a little bit of grip for that. Now, that being said, we are running a naturally aspirated build on this one. This is one of the few cars that an NA build really starts to make sense. It just has plenty of power, and the bonus that would be awarded with the high tier forced induction is negligible because of how much extra power we can get out of it. So let me show you what we got. Engine is the same stock. It is the 4.7 liter V8, 200 brake horsepower when we start. For the parts, it's super gold, elite platinum, super gold, elite platinum, nothing. Iron basic, naturally aspirated, no turbo, no supercharger, sport bronze nitrous, elite platinum road suspension, iron basic brakes, and then elite platinum Gripium tires. We are running the stock clutch, and we are continuing to run that 4-speed transmission. Like I said, every time we touch it with the 5-speed, it just starts to take it out of the class, and those points are valuable. You want all the power you can get in A+ class because there are some slayers. We do run the elite platinum diff. You're going to want that for the most part, but in this case, you guys can get away with at least the silver pro if you're going Gripium, but out of habit, I always put the elite diff so I can experiment the most. And auxiliary, same. Grip and drift, get those micro drift. Here's where we started making some compromises. If we go full grip, we need to take power out of the car. It drops it down to like 735-ish. You can get a little more, a little less, depends on your part configuration. But to get the max power so I can try to keep up with the drift car because it's a little faster, we are running a 40% grip build in this. The car is rowdy anyway once you start getting this much horsepower into it. So I didn't notice a huge difference between 40 and 60. 60 is a little better because it's got a little less power, so it's a little easier to control, but damn it. At the end of the day, I felt like if I was going to drive this car daily in a gripium form, this is how I'd set it up, so that's what I'm bringing to you guys. So 40% grip, steering sensitivity, whatever, downforce all the way high, and then traction control off, drift, entry, brake, tap. What that gives you is the grip car that does 170, a little better than that with Redline Tech, 751 on your horsepower, and 770 on the torque. If we add a supercharger, we have to change the parts around, and you actually get less power. And overall, it really wasn't a good trade-off. We experimented a lot with this car in A+, me and Slide, and at the end of the day, this is what I came to as far as conclusions go. Let me show you what the drifters get to play with, and it's a little more punchy for sure. The drift setup is virtually identical, we just got a little bit more power in it. So that being the case, stock engine, 4.7 liter V8, 200 brake horsepower, first engine over, yada yada. Parts, Elite Platinum, Super Gold, Elite Platinum, naturally aspirated, so iron basic, first induction over. Keeps it all on the NA build. By doing that, we've tiered up our induction, which gave us a little more punch. We are running Sport Bronze Nitrous, Elite Platinum road suspension, iron basic brakes, Elite Platinum drift tires for you mad lads out there that slide these things. Once again, iron basic clutch, keep the 4-speed, it's important, Sport Bronze 4-speed transmission. Get your Elite Platinum diff in there so that way you can play with the slider, because you may want more drift than what is currently set up on the car. Auxiliaries, yes. Handling, 60% drift is where it starts. You can go more, but you cannot go less. So 60s with the baseline there, you can do nothing more than that. So I would say start at 60 and go up from there. Slide uses 60 or 65 depending on what track he's on. He's pretty technical on that. Steering sensitivity 2 clicks high, downforce all the way up. Traction control off, drift, entry, brake, tap. With those subtle changes, it bumps up the top speed to 171. It does about 175, 176 with Redline Tech. It's pretty fast. 776 on the horsepower, 790 on the torque. So we've added about 24 horsepower to the car with that upgrade from the grip version. It's better. It really is. And you kind of notice it, honestly, when you start to get on the big end. Once you get into 4th gear, this pulls a little bit on the gripium version of it. At the end of the day, you've got to be a pretty good driver to notice the difference. The only reason I know is because I was right next to Slide when we were testing, and we were just seeing how it would pull. So that's kind of where we were at. But overall, it's a good car. If you're a drifter, this thing really does speak to those drivers. It's good. It's hard to grip, but it does get it done in the drift form. Let me show you what we have for S. Here we go, dudes. We're at S class. It's starting to get crazy. Alright, so here's the deal. The best engine for S class is the first engine over, the 4.7 liter V8 stock motor, 200 brake horsepower, broken record. Elite Platinum, all of it. So it's Elite Platinum induction, ECU, fuel system and exhaust, screw supercharger, Elite Platinum as well. Now we're out there. We had extra points. Options included tearing up the transmission for a little higher top speed. It's already pretty competitive at S class. Or you can go bigger bottle of NOS. So, Elite Platinum bottle of nitrous. That's what I default to. Elite Platinum road suspension. Don't touch the brakes. Elite Platinum grip tires. Good luck, boys. And then we had extra points even more so. So, Sport Bronze clutch. It's okay. The reason we didn't just go iron basic clutch and then Sport Bronze on that is because if you go and you tier up your transmission to a higher gear for more speed, we're still out of the class, so we had to take power out. Trading power for a little better top speed really wasn't good, because as soon as we take the power out of that to get that 7 points, it brings down that top speed so close to 190 that it's like not really worth it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you guys wanted to go the 7-speed build, you got to come over here and you're going to take your induction and you're going to tier that down. And then you're going to come over here, you're going to take your exhaust and you're going to tier that to the super gold. So what that does is now it says it'll do 212, but you've got 942 horsepower. That's really not my personal preference. I would rather have all the extra horsepower that comes with the Elite Platinum induction, the Elite Platinum exhaust, and then running the 6-speed here. So now we're at 1126. Better to have a car that accelerates really hard everywhere to get out of the corners than to have a car that's got a little better top speed that takes forever to get there. So the build, in my opinion, is this. It's Elite Platinum all of it with the bottle of NOS, Elite Platinum tires and suspension as we do. Throw in the Sport Bronze clutch because you can. Silver Pro 6-speed transmission, and then Elite Platinum diff. Now, to make all that work, you've got to be 55% on your grip, and then run your downforce all the way high. Steering sensitivity, whatever, direct control off, drift entry, brake tap. That's my setup for this. It works. 1126 on the horsepower, 1082 on the torque in foot-pounds. It's fast, impossible to drive as a grip driver because it just, dead. It rotates on you. But hey, it gets there. But keep in mind, we've maxed out that engine. So much that we're now adding nitrous and clutches in S. I wonder what S Plus is going to do. Let me show you what the drift version of this car looks like now. For drift, it's the same build, but you have a couple of options here, so I'll walk you through all that. Engines, first engine over, 4.7 V8, parts, Elite Platinum, all of them with the screw, plus Elite Platinum bottle of NOS because of the extra points we had to play with. Elite Platinum road suspension, and Elite Platinum grip tires. Now, here's the situation. To make it all work, this is kind of like what Slide would use as the base level all-arounder. Sport Bronze brakes because we've got extra points. If you go down one tier on the brakes, you've got even more points. I would recommend going with the Silver Pro clutch and then the Silver Pro 6-speed transmission. Cool. Elite Platinum differential for all the slider, but you can get away with like Sport Bronze or Silver Pro, whatever. Now, that's where we're at here. If you go 60% drift, if you are usually using more of that slider, like you're out here at the 75 range or above, what you can do is this. You can come in here, drop your brakes down to Iron Basic, grab your clutch, and tier up to the Super Gold. That's S Plus 330 at 60% drift, but as soon as you get to 75, you now have S329. So if you're 75 or above, you get a better clutch. If you're 60-ish in this area, you need to run the bronze brakes with the silver clutch. So there's a bit of a trade-off there. It really depends on where you're at. Just know that if you have a tendency to run that drift percentage out higher, you get a better clutch with it. So keep that in mind. But I would recommend running the brakes and then the silver clutch based purely on that's what Slide does. And he's the fastest drifter in the game, bar none. And so that being the case, run it that way. So that's the situation right there, you guys. It's basically Elite Platinum. Now you got bronze clutch and silver pro, or excuse me, bronze brakes, silver pro clutch, and then 6-speed transmission. We're out here. Do whatever you want. That's kind of the take on things. Honestly, you guys do whatever you like. If you run it and set it up that way, you can play with this a lot more. You can put that kind of wherever you want. And having that ability to put the slider where it's comfortable for you is really going to allow you to be the fastest, I think. Same horsepower, 1126, 1082 on the torque. It's fast, it's good at S, but we maxed out the engine. Let me get to S Plus and show you all of our wonderful options because there's so many of them. This may come as a surprise. It's not better at S Plus. Whoa. I know that shattered glass for a lot of people just now. They're like, no way, Cornnut, it's an S Plus car. It's all it is. It's a Mustang. It's the best car in the game. It's how we slay bystanders at car meets. It's how we ruin cars and coffee with one singular make and model. Camaro is a close second, and the Hellcats are coming. Challengers, you're right there behind them. You boys are crazy. I swear to God, give somebody with more than 350 horsepower in a rear-wheel drive vehicle, and they're going to fuck it up for the rest of us. Anyway, we're out here. So, let me just show you all of the options at S+. All the engines are maxed out, meaning we've got all Elite Platinum parts with the screw supercharger for a baseline plus the nitrous. So that way, as I compare each engine, you know what we're getting. This is the same performance, torque, horsepower, whatever the fuck, as S-Class. So it's an S car with better brakes, better clutch, different transmission. Not worth. Anyway, 4.7 V8, by far and away the best one. You'll see 1126, 1082. Cool numbers. We've seen those before. Weird. Anyway, so the V6 hybrid, less horsepower, 200 foot-pounds less torque. The i6, way less horsepower, way less torque. Same deal here, flat 12. Doesn't quite hit 1,000. It tried, but it sucks. Anyway, same deal. 4.5 liter V8, same thing. This is the only engine that actually gets more horsepower, but you are trading 100 foot-pounds of torque. The 40 horsepower that you get versus the 40 foot-pounds of torque is not a trade that I myself would be comfortable with, but there's a top speed characteristic that does change. So we're out here. That might make sense. Purely for the 5.0 V8, it's got 233 on the top speed instead of 209. 4.0 V8, same deal, but less horsepower and torque. Same deal, less horsepower and torque. Out of the engines, if you were gonna be some kind of crazy mad lad, you would build this one into S Plus because it's got the higher top speed. But it doesn't change anything. It's not better. Like, all of these have a better top speed because of the way the engine redlines, and that's how it calculates, you guys. It takes the engine redline and then attaches the gear ratios with whatever transmission you pick, and then that's how you get your top speed. The red line of the stock motor in this Mustang is so low that it only reaches 209, even with that crazy transmission. But if we take power out, we saw 212 earlier, like I showed you guys in the video. So the calculations are a little scuffed regardless. But honestly, you don't want to build this at S Plus. It doesn't fucking matter. It's not worth your time. But should you decide you want to do that, just because I don't want to act like I'm capping, the 4.7 V8 has got the power. It's got the best numbers across the board. It's going to give you the best out of the corners. Short track build. There it is with everything under the sun. Elite Platinum, all of it, plus the 7-speed transmission, because I wanted you guys to see that. Now, because the chassis doesn't change, if you go equip that 5.0 liter V8, now we've got a higher top speed, and all we did was just get an engine with a higher redline. You're trading some torque for it. I don't like this engine as much, but there it is. It's Elite Platinum, all of it. With brakes, yay. Elite Platinum grip tires if you want, or grips, or roads. It doesn't matter. Drift tires, it does not matter. This car is not good at S Plus. You get a little better performance if you go to the roads, and if you're gonna drift it, cool, do that. Slide the slider to the right, do your thing. Probably put it around 50. Ooh, but see, if you do 50% drift, it's only 400. But if you do 45% drift, it's 400 plus. That's a big deal. We all know that you guys are absolute sluts for a plus sign. So anyway, do 45% plus, steering sensitivity, whatever, downforce, good luck, traction control off, drift entry, brake tap, cool. That's it, you guys. Honestly, the car was done at S Class. We maxed it out. If you build it at S Plus, which is what you guys always comment, you're always in the comments like, okay, got it, followed instructions perfectly, S Plus vehicle. Thank you, Cornnut, I greatly appreciate it. I'm like, oh, all right. Cool, dudes. So drop a comment down below what class you're going to build this in, because I'm honestly curious. And I know the memes are going to happen. And guys, if you see somebody that is memeing this and they're like, best S Plus car, give that a like. Upvote that, because there's going to be people that don't watch the whole video. And they're only here for the builds. And if we're going to troll somebody, I'm on board. So just be like, oh yeah, it's a Slayer in S Plus. And just give that comment a like. Build it up into something that is fabricated, and let these nerds that actually think the car is going to be good there. You know what? Put Regera Slayer. You're right, Cornnut. Something along those lines. Let's get them. But that's the deal, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you. I don't have a channel without you. Shout out to my Patreons, you guys. I thank you for the continued support. If you want to be a member of my Patreon, it's the same as anything else. You're just helping me out every month, and I would really appreciate it. But you don't have to. It does keep me on even keel when I do these videos, because I feel like I'm actually putting them out there for people that are invested. Thank you so much for you guys for watching. SlideQT for helping me with the builds. He did not help me with S Plus. I came to that all of my own, because he's not an S Plus Slayer in the Mustang. Crowd Control has entered the chat. You guys have a great rest of your day. See you next time. Bye bye.